Let's go. Yo. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast. And that's facts.
What's up, Bears Nation? Welcome back to Bears on Tracks, brought to you by the Chicago Sports Podcast. I'm your host with the most, Brandon Trackside, and today we have a very special guest. The legend Doug Plank is in the building, but first, we are going to explain why we're here, folks. We are here because we are going to be diving into the hottest free agency window ahead of the 2025 NFL Draft, and we've got 10 explosive targets that GM Ryan Poles could sign. And the best part of it is they won't cost us a single compensatory pick. Not at all. So that's good to know. These players were cut by other teams, which means they're available at a bargain, right? Who needs a bargain? We all need a bargain. I shop at the Dollar Tree. Could we pull off a late offseason steal? Let's break it down with the numbers and stats and analysts that you need. First off, let's bring the man, the myth, the legend into the building, Mr. 46, the guy that you all love most, Mr. Doug Plank. They're ready for you. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I didn't know you traveled with a lot of group of people cheering you on. But you know what? What you said is so true. I mean, you can start thinking about what the team is going to look like next year. But you know, with the coaching staff change and players change, I'll tell you, it's going to be, I think, radically different.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. It's going to change out a lot. So many moving pieces, so many things going on, but we've got plenty of time to break it on down with you guys. First off, let's talk about a high impact edge rusher, guys. And by kicking things off with no other than Za'Darius Smith. He's an edge from Detroit. In 17 games during the 2024 season, Smith delivered 35 tackles, 9 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, and 17 QB hits while earning a 75 PFF grade. His relentless pressure could be a game changer for our front line, especially in Dennis Allen's aggressive defensive scheme. We're going to show his video here in a little bit, but let's unpack a couple other guys. First off, Doug, what do you think about a guy like Za'Darius Smith and also his connection with Ben Johnson? Does that help when you have that connectivity with a coach already in the building who you played with the year before?
There is no doubt. I think anytime that you set up a relationship with someone in the past, it could be a past week, past year, whatever the case might be, you never want to disappoint that individual because he already has a very, very high consideration of your ability and your performance in the past. So no, I think knowing these players personally, it adds another dimension. It's not just like going into the grocery store and, picking up, some food, animal, it's just, it's something that you already have established a relationship with. And that's what I think is going to be great about this situation. They're not bringing in a college coach, a high school coach, whatever. This guy has been in the trenches. He knows who he wants on his football team. And I think you're going to see massive changes and improvement quickly with the Chicago Bears.
Now, here's another guy that interests me, Von Miller. He's been around for a while. In just 13 games last season with Buffalo, he posted 17 tackles, 6 sacks, 7 tackles for a loss, and 8 QB hits, boasting an 82, almost 83 PFF. His veteran leadership and knack for big plays make him a tantalizing option. And I'll tell you what, it's nice to couple him with guys like Booker, guys that have just was drafted last year, potentially whoever it is we're going to draft. And we're going to talk about Mike Green in a second. We got a highlight reel on him also. But, I mean, when you bring a guy like Von Miller in the building, and you know this, Doug, as a former player and also a coach, I mean, that guy is like a coach on the player, if that makes any sense. You know, he helps out and he can really get in there. And, you know, a lot of times you can't get that signal call or that quick transaction or, hey, let's go ahead and course correct this really quick. We don't have time to get your butt back to the sideline. But this player can speak some sense into you and say, hey, I tried this. It didn't work. You need to do this. And that's the difference, right?
Yes, your words bring back a very quick memory. Alan Page, that we had picked up from the Minnesota Vikings, somebody that had been around a long time, was an all-pro. He didn't have the youth when we picked him up. Obviously, he had played a number of years, every year all-pro. And I think that, when you bring somebody in like that, you're right. They are literally a coach on the field. And it's not just them coaching themselves. They're coaching other people around them. And, you trust them. When I played free, safety with the Bears, I was listening to Alan Page because, in the huddle, he was starting to tell basically like he was Buddy Ryan in there, how to run the defense, what to do, make sure we didn't let a receiver to the outside catch the ball. I mean, just on and on and on. Alan Page was, I think, a perfect example of what you're talking about. A veteran player, maybe they don't have the same physical skills they had when they showed up at whatever team they were on, but they had that cerebral. And, most mistakes made on an NFL film are mental. They're not physical.
Oh, man, you're 100% correct. And, I got these highlight reels that I want to play with you. I know you've had quite a few. We've got a highlight reel we love to play whenever Doug's in the building, so we'll be playing that also. But I'll tell you what, somebody brought up a good point in the chat. What his asking price is? He renegotiated a deal for almost $9 million last year. I say that drops off. He's a year older. He's 36, almost 37. I would look at, something like a Calais Campbell type deal. Now, I know that's a different position, but that would get you closer to what, you're looking for. I want to say maybe around 5, 6, 7 million, somewhere around there. And I'm just, I'm not an agent. Okay. I'm just a meatball fan, but I'm just trying to figure this out. I don't think he gets what he got last year. He doesn't have the numbers to back that. So, and I like what Jim Miller always says, like, your health is your resume. However healthy you are, and you could speak on this. You've been through this before, and I know you will. Your health is your resume. So if you didn't have a healthy season last year and you didn't get to play a full season, then your stats don't speak for themselves because you have an injury, and we all know you're one injury away. So what does that mean to you? If he has a clean bill of health, do you think that the Bears should to at least look at him, kick the tires?
I always wondered how players could play 10, 12, 14 years in the league. I didn't quite play that much because I was destroying brain cells and a whole bunch of other things simultaneously. But it does make a difference because there's a few individuals in the National Football League that not only have the capacity to be a great player on Sunday, but they also understand circumstances, situations that they shouldn't put themselves into. You don't want to get on the railroad line, of a train coming at you, like an Earl Campbell. Regardless of whatever I did as a player, there were certain people on the field that you wanted to make sure that you were able to get them on the ground, but it wasn't going to be intimidating. You weren't going to hit them in the chest and knock them backwards. That wasn't going to happen. So you had to use your judgment. And sometimes players can do that. And, tying all this into I'm not going to mention any names or anything like that, but what you do in the off season is so important. Not only what you do in terms of your schedule, working out, conditioning, but also what you don't do. You don't smoke everything you can get your hands on and drink alcohol to morning, noon, and night. All those things have a cumulative effect on a person, not only their body, but also their mind, their mindset. And it's about what you're willing to put forth and give someone. And, I look at the 85 team there in Chicago. They had a new coach come in, basically a new regime. They were going to do things differently, especially on the offense. And everyone just bought in. And I think that's going to happen this year. I think it's not just the X and O's, which is I love their X's and O's. I love how they send people in motion continually on offense just to evaluate what the defense is doing. Now, a lot of teams say they do that. A lot of teams don't do that. If they send somebody in motion, it doesn't matter. They're going to run the same play they called on the sideline, regardless if anybody chased him. But that did, to me, watching Detroit play last year, I thought they were really, really good. And, they just caught themselves in the last game of the year. They didn't maybe get some of the breaks or things that they were receiving all year long because of their performance. But this is going to be fun. You're not going to have players talking to the stands during the game. I mean, there was just things that happened there last year. I'm sorry. It's just, for an NFL fan, I felt sorry. I just, there was really, I don't want to say the attitude wasn't there, but the mechanics certainly
For an
weren't.
NFL alumni, I feel sorry for you, brother. I mean, seriously, you have been with this team, unbridled for 40 years. I mean, 40 years. I mean,
Yes,
you probably got underwear older than some of the Bears fans, No disrespect. I'm just saying there are some very young Bears fans out there, and they've had a couple years. Make no mistake about it, pain is pain. Whether you've felt it for 40 years or you've felt it for 10 or 20 or 30, pain is pain. And the Bears have put us through a lot of pain, but it's encouraging to hear you speak of some positivity and some life that you see in this team. And we've known each other for a little while, and I'll be honest, this is the most upbeat that I've been able to hear you speak of our beloved Chicago Bears. And to me, that is a sign of relief and some encouragement coming in the building. So I'm excited, man. Here's another guy that might come in the building with an early draft pick. Again, we have his video. Mike Green. He's an edge potential draft pick, okay? Let's not overlook that rising star over there. Now, I know he came from a small college, but sometimes guys from small colleges do big things, especially in the Senior Bowl down there in Alabama. Jim Miller was there with Pat Kerwin. Everybody was down there, and they were looking at some of these small colleges do big things against big players. Listen, sometimes it's not the size of the dog or the size of the college. It's the size of the heart. It's the size of the determination. Absolutely. It's the size of the brain. It's the size of the willpower. And talk a little bit about that, because I'm sure some guys out there that got overlooked and some guys that got looked at because they played harder. And I mean, here's a famous saying I like. I love this saying. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. But if you have both, oh my.
I don't want to keep bringing up the same name all the time, but you talk about little schools, people you don't know, checking out their effort. Let's start with Walter Payton, somebody, a name everybody knows. As I said, I came from Ohio State. That first training camp, I didn't know who Walter Payton was. I never heard of his name. It was all about being on national television all the time, getting recognition. And obviously the National Football League, even back then, had a system in place that they were going to find and evaluate talent. And they realized he had talent. And what I like about what they've done in the past. This is not like you're trying to buy something through the television network, that you've never seen before, you've never had it in your hands. That's what the situation is with many of these players. Teams have no idea who they are, what they do in the off season, how hard they work. There's a lot of that now that can be determined, just with information and statistics matter. But on the other hand, I just think that having a coach that can make changes and make improvements, and you don't hear players complaining that they're getting treated poorly or their conditioning is over the top. They got to keep running and lifting and all this sort of thing. No, it's these coaches want to win. That's the major priority. And they're going to try to do that any way they can in terms of acquiring players or bringing players in, like you just mentioned, Brandon. Maybe these guys are maybe a year or two away from retiring, but the wealth of knowledge and the attitude that they can bring to a team is, tremendous. I mean, it's for me at the safety position, seeing Dan Hampton on one tackle and Alan Page on another. I mean, it was disparity, total difference in years, whole size and all that sort of thing. But, you cannot negate what experience does for players. They learn how to play, and they learn techniques to get around people and make plays. And that's what I think is so important.
Well, one of my favorite stories that you've brought up was being on the sideline with Walter. It was so cool. You're from a big time college. He's from a small time college, and he's encouraging you and talking to you. And I mean, the roles are reversed there. So, don't think so fastly that it can't happen. Listen, Mike Green, he's a small guy, plays with a big heart. 6'2", 6'3", 250 pounds. Easily. He could put on 15 to 20 pounds muscle, get some high calorie protein shakes going on, eat some, there's a lot of good food in Chicago that'll help put on some pounds out here. Let me tell you, some beefs, some pizzas, some dogs, minus the ketchup. Never put ketchup on a hot dog. But listen, Green has been turning heads. Mike Green has been turning heads, man. His college performance is amazing. Combining him with quick acceleration, elite pass rushing, instincts, and a knack for sacking the quarterback. So let's go ahead and check out this highlight reel. I would like to couple him with a guy like Von Miller. I see the size. I see a lot of similarities. I think it would be good to put those two together and see what they could potentially do. So let's watch a highlight reel, and let's see what Doug Plank sees and observes. And you guys all in the comments, in the chat, let's go ahead and unpack this. Let's have some fun. Get your popcorn. Man, the bend in this guy to be able to get around and go after the quarterback. Sometimes when you get out of position, you give up, but he just continues to wrap low. I mean, that's important, right? If you take out the feet, you take out the entire body.
Yeah, it is. You know what? Flexibility means a lot, especially in situations like this. He made an incredible effort to get back and make a play. And, lifting weights is great. A lot of times when you lift weights, you become very stiff, and certainly that's not what I'm. And I can't tell you as a defensive back how important you become a much more valuable commodity at even free safety with a great pass rush.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, he makes sure that he puts his body in a position that if the quarterback takes off running, he can make a play, or if he stays back in the pocket, he can manipulate that blocker and get rid of him in time to make a sack.
Yeah. I love it. I love the effort, man. I mean, these are all wrap-ups, right? This is going to be perfect for today's NFL, but I want to show you a highlight reel. Leave it in the comments below if you guys want to see the Doug Plank highlight reel after this. Please. You know what? I'm going to play it anyways. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. Holy moly. I'll tell you what, I like the shoelace tackles and all that fun stuff, but nothing gets me more energized than Doug Plank laying the wood, guys. Oh, man, that was awesome.
You know, it's you know what though? We all had memories in our life, and I remember as a young child in Pittsburgh watching the Chicago Bears play, and there was this guy named Gale Sayers and Dick Butkus, and I just wished I was both of them. I wish I could run, tackle like that, and you know that's important because you know sometimes dreams do come true, and this was certainly a dream for me to be able to come to the Chicago Bears and just try to be a part of their history in defense and the great fans that were here. And it was just amazing. Honestly, I literally would pinch myself sometimes that first year, my rookie year, going to Lake Forest College, be with the Bears my rookie year and thinking this could be a dream. This just really isn't happening to me. You know, I'm going to wake up here at any moment and I'm going to be in my bed and just wonder where this dream went. And it was just, it never ended. It just kept going on. And especially, you know, coming from a place like Ohio State, where you're playing against what's going to be future NFL players in many situations, you've seen what it takes to be a factor in this league. And so this was a project that I started on lifting weights, doing conditioning, and just trying to be seen, whether it's on special teams or some defensive safety drill. But you know what I like now? I start seeing it in these players that we were just looking at this morning,
Yeah.
Brandon. You know, just like Alan Page, there's a reason why he played so long in the league. Number one, he was good. He got off blocks, but the play was never over until you hear the whistle. And too many guys, especially on this team last year, they decided when they wanted to quit. And there was a lot of guys that quit during the play. And that was so frustrating to me as a fan and as a former player that was obvious. That was obvious watching it on television. Why did the bells start ringing somewhere in an office saying, you know what, we probably need to make a change?
And you know what? You don't just quit on yourself. You don't just quit on your team. You don't quit on your coach. You don't just quit on any of that. You quit on all of that, but you also quit on yourself and all of the fans that are out there that busted their butts doing the 9 to 5, working their tail off to finally go see you and get excited for it, you know? And when I watch a highlight reel, you exemplify what that means. It is amazing to see that. It is a gift that keeps on giving. And I know Mr. Young Doug Plank had no idea the transcending what you would do for generations and generations. Over 4 decades, you're still dominating highlight reels, dude. We just watched like a ballerina type way of going after a quarterback. And then we witnessed a real man laying the freaking smackdown on these candy guys. I mean, seriously, it was crazy, man. And every time we watch it, everybody in the chat automatically, their jaws drop and they're like, yeah, let's go. They get all fired up. And I'm sure their wives in the other room like, what got into you? Why are you all excited? Calm down, you know? So, but
I always thought this too, when you're watching a film like that, you really have a thought in your mind. You're starting out the play and you've got to fight through somebody to get around to get actually where you want to get to the ball carrier, the quarterback. And things are happening so fast. You don't, it's not like you sit back like on your chair and you say, okay, should I go left or right? Or should I go front or stop? This is so immediate. And you've got bodies flying by you on both sides, 200, 300 pounds. And you already have to make a decision, a fast decision. Right. This is like being in a car going 100 miles an hour on expressway on the, the roads, expressways going through Chicago. It's the 294. I was thinking, it happens that fast. You can look back all you want and slow things down and say, oh, Doug, you should have went left. You should have went right. Well, number one, you have to be locked and loaded when you walk onto that field that this is not going to be a normal hour, 2 hours of life in America. Yeah. This is going to be something that's going to be quick, violent. I got to make fast decisions. I'm hopefully got to, be in a situation where I can overcome that person because, you have a responsibility, a duty to the team that, the fact that you put that uniform on, it's almost like a contract. Yeah. I'm putting the uniform on. It's almost like me signing my name at the bottom of a contract. You are getting my best. Yeah. For the next hour of play, I will do everything I can, sacrifice my body, use all my intelligence, my record, my history of playing against this team to bring it to the value of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, don't check out mentally, physically, anything. Give it 110%, just like Doug did. Those are words to live by. I mean, like I said, nothing to take away from Mike Green, because it's a different era. But damn it, I loved your era, and damn it, we love you, Doug. So let's move on really quickly to another guy. So like I said, so far in the building, we've identified this young stud. Watch his highlight reel. Yes. This other guy that we're going to speak about, he is a pretty good safety, man. Marcus Williams. And then we're going to unpack a receiver in Tyler Lockett. Now, I really like Tyler Lockett. This guy is a small-bodied, small-type receiver, but he puts out really big production, man. Both these guys are really, really good. So, but first on deck, and we can talk about this with Doug, because, they both played safety. Marcus Williams has emerged as a free agent target thanks to his elite play coverage skills and playmaking ability in the secondary. On the field, man, he consistently breaks up passes. I've seen him break up passes. I think he knows by now he doesn't intercept the ball well, but he damn sure can get his hand in there and knock it down. You'll see that in a highlight reel also. Proving his reliability in both run support and pass defense, he actually is a pretty good tackler once he gets around it. And I think sometimes when you focus on the things that you do right, it's not to say that you don't focus on other things, but you kind of lean into it because that's your bread and butter. So his ability to read quarterbacks and provide, that timely support makes him a prime candidate for a lockdown secondary. His speed, awareness, and ball skills is exactly what we need, man. Like I said, we got that highlight reel, but let's talk really quickly to Doug about what all this means, that awareness, his ball knocking down skills, his ability to tackle. How important is that to have in that 4-3 defense as a safety there, Doug?
I think it's absolutely important. Let's start with that. You have to have skills. You have to have strength, durability. That's another thing that I know coaches are evaluating right now with players. How many games has this player been injured? And I don't want to say injuries or habits, but, one time, like I said, most times I got injured, I was out of position. I wasn't expecting to be in that circumstance. And I was trying to get back into play and make some sort of a tackle or interception or something like that. So most of the times, from inexperience, and just poor methods of trying to execute the play. That's the reason why I would get injured a lot of times. And but when I knew where I was going and I had the ability to, get there first and establish my position, even the hardest hits weren't that injuries. We're going to drive me to the sidelines. It's when I was caught off guard. I was off balance. Someone hit me from the backside. It was those sort of things that really caused the injuries. But I think when you start playing together with other players that are just as motivated as you are and just as determined, that they don't want to make mistakes either. They want to be on top of their game. And you start working together as a team, it's magic. It's absolutely magic. And, there's so many things now, just as far as therapies, things like that can bring back players, I don't want to say make them healthy for the next week, but at least be able to fill in. And because that's very important. If you're changing a lineup every single week, you can't expect, you don't think the other team knows that. The one thing that we always were taught every week, we were always given a list of players that they had reported as injured, and we could see it on film who was not up to their 100% performance, and we would purposely steer plays towards them. Just to try to find out the weakest player in that link on other teams, and then just put your all-star pass rusher, linebacker, defensive back on that side, and just shut them down. And we both know this, Brandon. It really gets back to the pressure on the quarterback, though. You try to force him into situations where he's making bad decisions. But here's what I love, what you've talked about so far. You're looking at younger players in most cases that are athletic, that are fast, can change direction. That's the NFL now. This is not the Earl Campbell days of running over linebackers and defensive tackles. No, this is a fast, quick game, and there's a line in football: speed kills.
Yeah. Oh man, accident. You know what? You cannot coach speed. I mean, you can work on it. You can get faster. You can stay fast. I remember Michael Vick said, "Hey, you know why I was so fast? Was because in Virginia Tech, he was a track star. When he stopped running track, you're not going to be running that fast. Now, he's always going to be a fast human being as long as he doesn't stay on the couch. And I think if even on the couch, he'd still be, 90% of the world. But my whole point is, man, you have to continue to train. And like Doug said, speed kills. And you know what? There's a different football speed, because I swear to God, you tell people you're 40-yard dash speed, Doug, they'd say you're lying. They say you're lying and you're sandbagging us, because on the field, you look faster than the word of God, man. Seriously. Yeah, they say missile. They don't say incoming, slow bomb coming out of a B-52. They say missile. Missiles are fast.
You know what, Brandon? We all have a survival instinct inside of us. And I think, and I really am thankful to the spirits above that allowed me to control that spirit, that survival instinct. And as I said, we all have it. Especially anybody that's ever been thrown in water that, either the current is strong or you can't get up. Your ability to survive is powerful. And, so with that being said, I'm not going to say it was easy getting in front of the Earl Campbells of the day, or even, 290-pound guards pulling around on a sweep play. But when you had it kicked in, you walked on that field, you had prepared yourself all week for this event. So this wasn't just like something you thought of in the last 5 minutes. No, you already knew every player, every name, where they played, how they played, and you stepped on that field. And I don't want to say it was like the Gladiators, but it felt like the Gladiators many times, going, you know what? The scoreboard matters. It does matter. But what happens on that field, it's a battle. And it's a battle every single play.
You're talking to legend Doug Plank from the Chicago Bears. And I'll tell you what, you're also on Bears on Track, Chicago Sports Podcast, brought to you by Wanna Parlay. check out your app, enter the promo code TRACKS. You got a game coming on Monday night. You got the Cubs on at 1. Sox are playing. No matter what sport, check it out. They'll match up to $250. It's a good time. So you put down, they've even got like $2 bets, Doug. It's like you throw $2 down, they take one away. You still got one left in the bank. They take the other dollar from their pocket and they put it there. And you can win up to like $2,000 out of this deal. You throw 10, if you get in on another one against the house, you throw 10 down, they take out 5. I'm like, man, I always got money in here. It's great. So check it out on Wanna Parlay. It helps us out. It helps out Chicago Sports Podcast. They're our new sponsor. WGN hooked us up with them. We're very grateful and proud to be a part of all that. But, you know, yesterday we had on a very special situation. Doug Plank was able to make a man's dream come true. And Squeegee, you remember the guy with the hat and the glasses that looked like the Blues Brother he was on? He was great, didn't he? He had on he had some really good football knowledge as a fan, man. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And you made his dream come true. And we're getting ready to bring in another fan, also a host and a co-host on another podcast. He's a friend of our podcast. He actually lives in your neighborhood, not too far away, Doug. But anyways, I would like to bring in Mr. Crooked Commish. Crook Commish, how you doing, buddy?
Top of the morning to you guys. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Sound good?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you for bringing me back, Trax. It's an honor to be back. It's a pleasure. And Doug, it's definitely an honor to meet you. As you know, big-time Bears fan, so to be able to be in a chat with you and chop it up with you is, you know, more than amazing. So thank you for bringing me on, Trax. Really appreciate it.
This is the part of the show where we like to bring listen, this show is created from a fan for fans, okay? You don't get this from ESPN. They're not going to pull your butt out of the seat and say, hey, let's get on the video. Guess why? Because they're selfish and they don't want to hog the camera. They want all the camera to themselves. Even on the 3-letter networks like ABC, NBC, CBS. Now, I'm not saying that I don't pull up, you know, and watch them and whatever. I'm just saying, as far as this show goes, Chicago Sports Podcast, we want to hear it from the fans, damn it. And I'll tell you what, your voices were heard when they said sell the team. That freaking rung a bell in Virginia, in all the McCaskies, Brian, George, they all felt it. Doug, he could speak personally, privately about this. He knows that it made a difference. Our voices make a difference, damn it. Listen, if you don't have, we saw this in COVID. If you don't have any butts in the seats, it's a total different ball game. It's like playing solitaire, you know, or playing chess by yourself. I feel like an idiot. It's like trying to block a guy that's rushing you at the same time, or hiking the ball, throwing it and then catching it yourself and then celebrate. It just makes no sense. You got to have fans, man. That's what it's all about. And that's why we do this. And I'm so glad Kamish could be here with one of his favorite and also, like I said, basically a neighbor, Doug. So thank you for making his day, you know, a special day, Doug.
You know what? It really wasn't that much effort. I mean, I think I've had much harder assignments in my life than this. So this is enjoyable. And, you know, you always forget. I don't care who you're talking to. I was a fan one day when I was growing up. I loved football. I was in the pass, punt, and kick competition and won it in Pittsburgh. And I love football. And, oh, my gosh, I was thinking, man, I'd love to meet Terry Bradshaw someday, or Jack Ham, or, you know, I mean, I'm no different than anybody else. It's just that I was lucky enough coming from Ohio State, playing in just a few games, to have the best game of my career at Northwestern in Evanston and have a Chicago Bears scout there. And I get drafted in the 12th round. Come on, the 12th round? How many 12th rounders are sticking around after the final cuts? Are not many.
Right.
And I just made sure that, you know, every day I showed up there, whether I played well or not, they were getting my best effort. And having been a coach in the NFL too, you know, you appreciate players. They never stop. They just go, beginning to end. It's just like you don't have to talk to them. You don't have to give them any pep talks. They already got all the pep they need. You just need to teach them some technique, stick them on the field, and say, "Go
Absolutely.
get them."
And I'll tell you what, Kamish, earlier, I know you were in the comments. So you already saw we were talking about Za'Darius. We were talking about Williams.
Right.
We were talking about Von Miller. Now we're getting ready to talk about Tyler Lockett. But is there anyone in particular that we've already passed up that you'd like to touch on really quickly, or where are you at with this, buddy?
Well, I'm not too sure with Lockett there. They've just been signing many guys and oddball receiving stuff, so far. So I'm not sure where he kind of fits into the equation, especially if they end up drafting another receiver at some point in the draft as well. Our receiver
Right.
room is going to be pretty crowded. Getting
Yep.
the receiver from Washington a little while back as well, and then I think
Yep.
they just signed. They signed two guys yesterday: a cornerback from the Patriots, and then another receiver as well. So it's just like,
Yep.
are you familiar with who I'm talking about? Or did you see that as well?
Yeah, I saw that as well. And I think the same argument can be said if you get a guy like Von Miller. The point I think of that is similar to the Keenan Allen experience. When you got a guy, in the building, in the locker room, on the field, and all that, and just being basically like a coach and a mentor on the field. It speaks volume, especially when you're playing at that level. And I don't think any of the guys that they've signed that, and here's the other deal. You kind of look at it when you look at a guy like Lockett as all of these guys, where you get Zacchaeus, the receiver, all these guys, the receiver from Baltimore, you go pick them up, right? And now all of a sudden these guys are like, okay, well, how come I haven't been picked up? And it's kind of like a bargaining chip, but I really like Lockett. He brings that veteran, savvy, explosive playmaking ability that could ignite our passing game, man. His stat line in 2023 spoke for itself, man. 80 receptions, more than 1,000 receiving yards. I believe he broke a Steve Largent record, which that's a big name. That's a really big name. He racked up touchdowns that established him as one of the NFL's premier playmakers of all time, man. I mean, his impact right away on the offense. He's got precise route running and knack for creating separation that offer immediate deep threat for, Caleb. And here's the deal. This guy, he reminds me not as the same skill set, because I already know somebody's going to say, Track said he reminds him of Jerry Rice. No, he knows how to get down. He knows how to get down before he gets lit up with a guy, like Doug Plank. He's like, oh, I'm going across the middle. I know when to get down before the human missile attacks, But imagine the advantage of having the reliable hands and clutch playmaking on our side. I mean, like I said, I'm excited to putting together this. I put together this this video for you guys. But what do you think about all this, Kamish?
Well, the thing with if we get Lockett in, and it's up to this coaching staff really, bringing Lockett in and having him get like significant playing time, you're taking away developmental time from another younger guy and stuff, and seeing what he can do. And it's kind of like the same thing what happened last year. We brought in Allen, which is great, and it's kind of like an iron sharpened iron. On the other side, he's going to make our defensive players better as well through practice and whatnot. But at the same time, you took away time from Tyler Scott. It seems like he's not going to be much of anything. We're not sure still what he is as a receiver, if he's going to be valuable to us at all, and nobody else really seemed in the receiving corps seemed to develop. And bringing in Lockett here as well, I'm hoping he doesn't take away targets from Rome, because I really want Caleb Williams and Rome connection to really flourish even more than what it has, to continue to develop and stuff, and not be stinted at all with any other guy like that coming in.
I understand the fear and also the respect of all that, but now the flip side is developmental, and I believe that Keenan Allen really helped out. And here's the deal, DJ Moore. Are you kidding me? We got another dog in. Hey, man, we can't have another dog in the show. I'm gonna have to clip that out. Oh my goodness. So yeah. Anyways, getting back to that, I got a dog and he knows where to be at during a podcast, especially when I got Doug Plank on. So the thing about it is if DJ goes down, now all of a sudden you got nobody, and Rome is a rookie, and it's all on his shoulders. I think that would have been negligence. You know what I'm trying to say? So I really feel like that is something that needs to be looked at, but I understand, and I think Rome might be in a good place. I think he's had enough time, Doug. I really think that he's had enough time to be ready. I think we know what we got in him, and I think he'll be all right. I'm with Crooked Kamish. I do think that Tyler Lockett is somebody that we don't necessarily have to get, but if they get him, I obviously trust Ben Johnson and know what he's doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't you agree? I mean, all of our opinions here, the three mice here, three blind mice, we're all trying to make ideas and suggestions. Yeah. And I'm not saying they're not intelligent. They are. They're all based on data. And I found in transitions on teams, it matter. It doesn't just matter. It is required that if you have somebody that can help teach, be along with the coaches, tell the other players, listen, here's the program, guys. I've been under it the last few years. And just to go in there with all young players, I think is going to be a mistake. If they have someone like we're just talking about here, I think it makes it so much easier. It eliminates a lot of the mental mistakes and the confidence in the coaches. When you have a guy that's actually in the locker room sticking up for the coaches when new coaches come in, a lot of them yell and scream. I mean, really, when Buddy Ryan first got to the Chicago Bears, man, everybody was scared because, he was the old Army sergeant and he was just letting everybody have it verbally and not physically, but verbally especially, and embarrassing everybody. That's where I think some of these older players, at least maybe for a year, maybe two at the worst, let them help in the transition to where this team wants to go. And no, I think everything's they don't have all bunch of new guys. They don't have a bunch of old guys, because I don't think a whole team of old players is smart either, because you get towards the end of games, the end of the season, they wear down. They just don't have the same energy. They don't have the same performance. So you're going to have to go with a mix of talent, I think, early on until they get this program just singing the way they want it to go.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. That makes sense. And you're right. I mean, my opinion doesn't matter. I'm just a fan. I just try to put together a show. I understand if Tyler Lockett doesn't check all the boxes, but he is still out there. And I think that he could be serviceable. Make no mistake about it. I definitely feel like somebody's picking him up. It's interesting the other day when I was on looking at Bears Chat by Harrison Graham. He was actually talking about whether or not we would bring back Keenan Allen at a lower cost, because he's been in free agency a while kicking the tires, and he's kind of realizing that his value isn't what it was, so not sure what all that's about, but like you said earlier, all we can do is speculate and guess, and have a fun show. So let's go ahead and roll that highlight reel of the other guys before we move on to Rayshon Jenkins, Juwan Bentley, CJ Mosley, Shaq Mason, and all that. Yeah. So where's that video at? Let's pull it up. What's up, buddy?
I just wanted to say, I just wanted to come on here and jump on for a minute and say hi and whatnot to you guys. And thanks for inviting me on. I got to jump back off and still continue to pack. We're moving down the street from Peoria to Glendale. So, Doug, if you're ever,
good luck.
Yeah, it's a hassle. This house is a mess right now, but Doug, wherever you go to watch the Bears game, Scottsdale or whatnot, love to come by and watch a Bears game with you anywhere and stuff. So,
well, you know what? With our great host here, we all got the information about each other. So let's keep in touch. I would love that.
Awesome.
That'd be great.
Like I said, Trax, thank you again. Thank you for the time. Everyone in the chat, bear down. Thank you guys as well.
Look forward.
Yep, absolutely. Doug, be safe, guys. Be safe. Peace.
Okay, thank you.
See you, buddy. Bye. All right, here we go. Yeah, this is that Za'Darius, the edge rusher. Now, Doug, like I was saying, he's not getting into, he's getting into the backfield. He's making his pressure, be known. You're not going to see a lot of sacks like you did with Mike Green earlier and all that. But you do see, his presence felt. And he's always a disruptor. You know what I'm saying, Doug?
Yes. Well, I guarantee you cannot, having experience and knowing other teams and other personnel around the league, that's very valuable information.
Yeah, especially the fact that he's connected with Ben. So if Ben brings him in, that there's something, there for sure.
Just think about how difficult it is to have a great team without a great pass rush. Think of all the great teams over the history of this, our lives. Everything has been about a pass rush, a defense, especially for me growing up in Pittsburgh. It was the Iron Curtain. I mean, you name it. I mean, it was wherever you go, that team, the 85 Bears, everything was about the pass rush. Everything begins at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
Look at the quarterback, that Justin Fields, 8 sacks.
Wow.
His first game. I mean, come on. That's it. Everything begins at the line of scrimmage. Same thing for offense and defense.
Yeah. Now we're moving on to Tyler Lockett, the receiver that we were just now talking about. So we're going to watch some of his highlights and look at him, break it down. Like I said, he's got an uncanny act of getting open and reading his routes. He's a great route runner. He can get down before in contact, sure hands, great receiver. Watch this. Now knows how to get out of bounds, make sure that the ball doesn't get popped out, Gets down again. Those hard catch balls right before it hits the carpet. I'm blowing up and now make the ball more of a hazard than it was if you didn't.
Yep.
Great point.
To me,
that's a great point.
I don't see a fear factor with him.
No.
He's willing to go into crowds of defenders and make catches.
Yeah. See this. This is a unique, one-of-a-kind talent. Listen, whoever gets Lockett is going to have a special, very important skill, that you need to learn. Okay, now here's a safety in Williams. Him being able to knock down those balls, read those defenses or the offenses. Getting that hand in there. Get that extension.
We talked about this earlier. There are players out there that are paid incentives to score touchdowns and to get interceptions. So guess what? If they're getting paid to get on interceptions in their contract, what do you think they're going to do on the field? They're going to try to get interceptions, regardless of what else happens. Too many times I've seen defensive backs going for interceptions instead of knocking the ball down and then a touchdown for the other team. So I never had that in my contract. I never wanted to have it in my contract. As I said before, Bren, if I was ever in doubt, I would maybe just slow down one step and make sure that the receiver, me, and the ball were arriving all at the same point. And I guarantee you it wasn't going to be a catch.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, I mean, man, you just said it well. And the same could be said for a pass rusher, right? If you go too hard on a quarterback and now all of a sudden the play goes lateral and you're not secure and know what's going on in that moment, you could be more of a detriment to your team than you could be more of a liability than an asset at that point. What's that like, Doug? Because I mean,
there's always great.
you got to go so fast, Doug. What's that like as a player where you're going in on a blitz and you're going in hot, and all of a sudden you see that play go laterally? How do you change? How do you change in that moment?
It's hard. It's you can't physically and mentally, you can't just stop your body and change directions.
Right.
You have to maneuver, but it makes a difference. A rookie will just keep running straight ahead, regardless of what happens. But a veteran player will be able to look around and look from stances, down in distance, position on the field, what is probably going to happen on this next play. And so that's where this experience comes into. Yes, it's great to have raw talent and speed out on the edge. What do I mean by the edge? A receiver, a defensive end that's splitting wider than normal. And he comes off that edge and he's fast and he can get over the top. He can get underneath. There's sometimes you put offensive players in positions to block defenders. They can't do it. Physically, they cannot do it. They don't have the skill. They don't have the physical ability. They don't have the mental ability to anticipate what they're going to get.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what's going to happen with the Chicago Bears here on both sides of the football. You're going to see a massive improvement. It's not going to be just one-sided. He's not just one kind of coach, offensive or defensive person. He encapsulates the whole entire concept of offense and defense. And I'd be so happy to see something very similar to what the Detroit Lions have been doing the last couple of years. It'd make a lot of people in Chicago happy.
Yeah, dude, honestly, I feel the same way. But out of all these guys, I want to know, let's unpack a couple guys. Rashawn Jenkins, the safety from Seattle, Juwan Bentley, linebacker from New England. Now, when you play for New England, it's, the old saying is the Patriot way. Do the most with what you have. They expect a lot out of you. So Juwan Bentley, linebacker, New England. CJ Mosley, linebacker from the Jets. I like CJ Mosley, linebacker from the Jets. Shaq Mason, offensive guard, Houston. Not really too excited about him, to be honest. He's got a low overall PFF rating. Although in the 21s, he had an 85, but then in the 24s, he dropped down to 62. So we might need a little help on the offensive line. George Fant, tackle from Seattle. DeMarcus Walker, lineman, obviously from the Bears. I don't think we bring him back in the building. That would just be a little weird. But my point to you is, Doug, out of all these guys and the guys that you talked about, is there anyone that you most notably would like to take a chance at if you were the GM for the Bears?
You know what? I really haven't seen any of these players in person. I think, there is something with the conversation. Sure. But you and I both know too many guys that can BS anyone. Like you're done talking to them, they're going, oh my gosh, what a great guy that was, or what a terrible person. Because it works both ways. There's people I've talked to that, players that I thought, man, I really don't want to be friends with that guy, but he's a great player. On the other hand, there's guys that come in there and they're talking, yak. I can do this, I can do that, I can jump, I can run, they can't do any of that. And maybe they can on one time, but once they get smacked and they're laying on the ground, they're not going to do it again. They're not going to put themselves. It's a unique quality, and I think I admire the scouts because they have to go in there and evaluate it and literally jump in somebody's mind and say, what are they thinking? But you know what? It's one of those things. I was a player that played with a chip on my shoulder. I was sitting on the bench at Ohio State. So, I wasn't the greatest in the 40. I wasn't the greatest vertical jump. Flexibility, and my flexibility was decent, but I had the capacity to block fear out of my mind and run into anybody I wanted to at any time. And that's qualities that you have to take into consideration, along with all the great physical skill that these players have today. And that's where, Brandon, watching these films is so valuable. At the beginning of the game, I want to see the player at the end of the game playing like it's the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And there's no let up. There's no first, second, third quarter. No, It's one level. He's a flatline
Yes.
player. His best and his worst is like minor. There's no separation. Some of these guys, their best and worst is like waves in the ocean. I mean, from the highest high to the
Right.
lowest low is a long
Yeah.
distance. And you're looking like sometimes as a coach, who are you today? What happened
Yeah.
to you? That's good and bad. I mean, I'm serious. There was games where I didn't expect that guy to ever come close to what he just did, scoring touchdowns, making tackles. I'm going, man, who showed up here today? That was another alternative being. That it starts mentally. You got to see which of these guys are really strong, and and consistency is another part of this. You can't be up one week and down the next week. You got to be a flatliner. And whether it's good or bad, you got to be a flatliner because that's what people are expecting out of you and coaches.
Hey, and that's kind of like what we were just bringing up with the Shaq Mason deal. I mean, you have a high mid 80s PFF down to 62. If you're in
Yes.
Doug's camp, you can't be having that, man. You got to give it your all, 110% every play all the time. And Doug, here's the deal, man. Of all these 10 free agents, they all bring solid, unique skills and solid analytics. I mean, listen, they're in the NFL for a reason, right? So GM's, he's got a tactical advantage by enhancing our roster without impacting the compensatory pick formula. And also, right now, if you think your heads are being scratched because you don't know who we're going to pick up in the draft, because now we have a more well-rounded and diversified team, wait till they pick up some more guys right before the draft. And then you're really going to wonder what the hell's going on, because like I said, the free agent market is heating up, guys. The strategic window is now for the Bears, and it has never been more thrilling than I could. I always look at, oh, well, we obviously know where they should be going with this pick. Right now, I really don't have a clue. I couldn't tell you where the hell they're going to go. And if you add guys like, playmakers in Za'Darius Smith, Von Miller, or, Marcus Williams, somebody in the chat earlier Phil said, of all the guys, he thinks the safety would be the biggest need. And I agree. We're worried about what's going to happen with Brisker. We don't have a lot of depth at safety. I think out of all these guys that we would like to have, I think this guy makes the most sense in picking him up. And also getting a potential star in the draft or a type of Mike Green that injects both youth and veteran leadership in Dennis Allen's defensive scheme. I've said it before and I'll say it again, Doug. Everybody can't be 22 years old right out of college and bulletproof. You need a little bit of veteran leadership and a little bit of youth at the same time. Doug, wouldn't you agree there?
I would agree 100%. You have to believe that, I remember when I first went to the Bears in 1975, I didn't play free safety at Ohio State. I was a strong safety, but they had an injury at free safety. So I was placed back there. I actually asked to go back there because I wanted to make the team, and I imagine I could be anything. I could be a corner. I could be a safety. Well, I get back there, and all of a sudden, you start to have to learn new techniques and be able to acquire new skills quickly. And I think for all these players, anytime it's a change from one team to another, things are just different. You have to be able to be a part of that system and excel in it. Don't make mistakes. That's where I like veteran play, because I know that they've already been under NFL conditions. They've had plays, they've had experience. Some of their athletic skills may be a little bit diminished, but for the most part, they're not going to make mental mistakes. They're going to usually be where they have to be. And whether they execute the play or not is really a factor of, just their physical condition, where it goes. I found that in the NFL, you slowly build yourself up to the best player you can be. But when you play a certain amount of time, the drop off is so quick. It's like a cliff. One day you show up, you can't do the same things. You can't run into the same people as fast. You'd be injured. You get knocked out. Your bones hurt more than they normally did when you were a rookie or a first year or second year player. So you have to take all those considerations. And then what kind of scheme are you going to run? Are you going to run a smash mouth, where you're just going to run at the team, smash them first, run the ball basically? Or are you going to adopt what I think this offense is going to adopt, which is a wide open motion everywhere and try to get matchups with their skilled players against lesser skilled players on the other team? And I think you add the experience with it, good things should happen.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more, because every statistic and analytical number, all the bean counters, they look at everything that you're talking about, all the measurables in these potential signings, right? They're calculated moves and they're aimed to maximize the on-field performance, Doug, while preserving our future draft capital. We don't want to give up our draft capital, because championships are won and built through the draft. Now, I'm not saying that free agents aren't going to help. They're going to help out a lot, especially this year with the free agents that we picked up. Oh my. But this is how you build a championship caliber team. You bring in some youth, sprinkle that in, bring in some veteran leadership. You got to have both. So Bears Nation, let us know in the comments below in the chat. What do you think? Are you a Marcus Allen safety guy, a Tyler Lockett, the missing links to elevate our squad? Which one of those guys, if not both, would you want? And could Mike Green be the next big edge rusher in Chicago that we need to help reshape our defense? Leave it in there, all your thoughts in the comments below, guys. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to Bears on Tracks, and turn all your notifications on so you never miss any in-depth analysis and the latest Chicago Bears news. And you never know who's going to pull up. Maybe Doug Plank will pull up and have a great show with us, man. And don't forget to check out our upcoming highlight videos that we've got coming on in the future. We love having Doug Plank in the building, especially when we have highlight videos, because he provides some things. Listen, Doug has forgot more about football than I'll ever learn. So when he comes in here and we're watching a highlight video, it's not just about me being a fanatic and, shoving popcorn in my mouth while I'm backstage. No. I'm sharpening my pencil, because when this guy talks, you better start smoking that pencil. That lead be a lot smaller by the time the show's over, guys. This guy's got a lot to teach us. Doug, thank you so much for coming on. I know you said it's easy. It's probably the easiest assignment you've had this morning, but I think it would have been a little bit easier if you would have been at least able to have had a cup of coffee before you came on the show, bro. That would have made things a whole lot easier, bro.
It always does. It always does. Even playing games of football, oh my gosh, there was nothing like that cup of coffee before you headed out on the field. Like, whoa, it's awesome.
Guys, really quickly in the chat, I just want to bring up a couple things. Squeegee says, that's the guy that was on the show with us the other day. One thing I respect about Ben Johnson is his humility. He knows he needs help and isn't afraid to bring in coaches that are more experienced in certain areas than he isn't. Takes a courageous person to do that. I mean, listen, that is important for a guy to not be job scared and say, listen, I need help. It takes a village to make this happen. That's important, right, Doug?
There's no doubt. I mean, look at the Lions last year. They ran plays that you never expected in like fourth down situations. Oh, that's going to be a handoff. No, they faked a toss, the running back threw the ball. I mean, they're attacking every single play. And that's what I love about this guy. They don't go out there and just take it easy. Oh no, we're just going to tie. No. We're going to kill that guy. We're going to take him to the cleaners, and we're going to be in that end zone in the next couple minutes. And then the game's over, and then they're going to win. And I love that attitude.
I do too, man. I think it's great, and I think it's infectious, and I think it's important. I mean, you spoke of a guy early and often about Walter and how infectious he was. I mean, I think one of your very first moments was you guys were on the sideline and you were talking about something, and he spoke some encouraging words to you, Doug. So, I mean, listen, you guys are on two opposite side of the balls also, I mean, it's crazy. So you never know what type of encouragement or what kind of life you can speak into somebody in the
Right.
day that could be that one thing that they need to hear that just transforms them and makes them a better person. Let's all be better people today. Let's have a great day. Remember, it's not Track's day, it's not your day, it's the Lord's day. Okay, so let's have a good one. Thank you guys all for showing up and showing out. And Doug, thanks again, man.
No, pleasure. Believe me, anything I can impart to your show, I'm glad
Oh
to
man,
do it.
you impart a lot, so we appreciate you. All right, guys, Chi-Town up, Bear down. See you guys. Bye.
Take care.